The Saudi and Turkish foreign ministers have held talks in Istanbul and called for an end to Israel's war on Gaza. The two ministers once again stressed the need for an immediate ceasefire. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan says the international community should increase pressure on Israel to accept a deal. Sinem Koseoglu is in Istanbul following that meeting.
Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan's visit to Turkey is actually the third minister-level visit paid by Saudi officials within the last 2 weeks. He was first received by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul, and then he held talks with his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan. Of course, along with the bilateral relations and aims and targets in economy and politics, one of the main key topics was the war in Gaza. Two top diplomats underlined that a two-state solution is necessary based on 1967 borders. An independent Palestine is a must on the way to peace and permanent ceasefire. And they both emphasized that more Western countries must recognize Palestine as an independent state, while international community must pressure Israel to accept the peace deal that recently Hamas has accepted. Turkish foreign minister underlined that Hamas didn't accept this peace draft because it was weak or desperate, but that was necessary for safety and stability in the region. And they pointed out the potential international risks if Israel continued its attacks on Gaza. Of course, Turkey-Syria normalization was also one of the topics asked to Turkish foreign minister, and he mentioned that Turkey's stance towards the Syrian opposition is the same, and opposition and Turkish military fought against ISIL and other terrorist organizations inside Syria shoulder to shoulder, and the return of the Syrian refugees back to their home can only happen on the voluntary basis. Sinem Koseoglu, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.
Let's bring in Hassan Barari. He's a professor of international affairs at Qatar University. He's in the Jordanian capital, Amman. Welcome, Hassan. So we just heard there the Saudis are in Turkey trying to collectively push for an end to the violence. Fears, of course, of a regional spillover are high, especially given tensions between Hezbollah and Lebanon and Israel. How would you describe the pace of peace efforts right now?
Well, it is very important, Neve, that the Turkish foreign minister and the Saudis see eye to eye on what is happening across the Jordan in the occupied territories. The realization is very important that short of having a two-state solution, end of this war, the region is going into a kind of chaos, if I can say. And this is very important because at the same time, they call for more pressure on Israel, but also on Hamas in order to reach a deal that would mitigate the situation and preclude the spillover effect of this 9-month-old crisis.
And Hassan, of course, in the last 24 hours, 48 hours in Gaza have been particularly deadly, haven't they? I mean, 2 large strikes, one in Al-Mawasi in western Rafah on Saturday, at least 90 people killed there, many more people missing, and a strike on Gaza City, 60 bodies recovered there. We're talking once again about high-caliber weapons being used in densely populated areas. As, of course, the United States deals with its own political challenges, do you think that's having an impact on the kind of pressure America's willing to put on Israel right now?
Well, I think the United States is preoccupied with the internal domestic issues, in particular, the failed attempt on Trump's life. I think they have a little time to put more pressure on the Israelis. And at the same time, Netanyahu is trying to appease his partners in the government by escalating the conflict with Hamas, but at the same time, he knows very well that that he needs to reach a deal because he failed over the last 9 months to liberate even one hostage. I mean, they managed maybe 3 or 4, but the vast majority of the hostages are still held in maybe safe areas in Gaza, and the only way is to liberate them is by having a deal with Hamas. The pressure on Netanyahu is mounting also internally, giving the demonstrations and giving also the opposition and the collapse of the war cabinet. So he needs to do something. But at the same time, he's trying to balance between the need to appease his own coalition partners, and also the demand of the public.
There is, of course, a very real risk that in a few months' time we will have a very different president in the White House. How is that being factored in to the equation by regional powers, do you think?
Well, we didn't have one common position here in this part of the region. There are some players here, I'm talking about key states, that would be really, they're going to be upbeat to see Trump again. Netanyahu is one of them. I think he's buying time, and he's trying even to cause a kind of electoral loss on the part of Biden because he feels more comfortable with Trump. But at the same time, there's some Arab regimes here. They want to see Trump back again because they see eye to eye with him. He is more transactional in terms of his foreign policy. He wouldn't pay attention to the internal human rights record for some countries. So I think there's a mixed feelings in this part of the world. But at the same time, there are some countries that would feel threatened by Trump. Jordan is one of them because Trump is one of the people looking for a deal of the century at the expense of the Palestine and Jordan.
OK, Hassan, many thanks for that. Hassan Barari, Professor of International Affairs at Qatar University.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.